Hi, hello, how are you? And welcome back to another renovation. This week, we are renovating the Ophelia Villa, aka the Goth House, which I think is what realistically we all call it. Um, this was a trial, but first, let me just say that if it looks really decisive in the sped up video when I'm doing the living room, it's because I lost probably a half hour of this renovation and had to start over because my computer turned off. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do with this living room when I started recording for this video. So, yes. Now, the biggest thing that you'll probably notice in this quote unquote renovation is that I don't do any real architectural renovating, and that's because, unlike Park Shore, which was my last renovation, I feel like the Goth House is such a staple in The Sims that it already has a really nicely developed character, and this house already has a story. Whereas Park Shore was just a house that was it's just empty, it's just there for you to live in, big fancy house, right? The Goth family is an established family. They have an established personality and wealth, and we kind of get what they're about. So I didn't feel like, and I also felt like this house was very functional. It didn't have any of the kinks that I saw like when I did Park Shore, and so I didn't really mess with the architecture other than making Alexander's room a little bigger in his weird attic hideaway. Mostly what I focused on was brightening this place up and working on an aesthetic change that was a little less drab, because to me, Gothic doesn't have to mean all red and black and really dimly lit. I did keep the red and black aesthetic because obviously that's the Goth family's thing, but I didn't go for dimly lit and I didn't go for drab. What I went for in this house was a very modern Gothic feel, and so it's a little more glam, which I thought at first I was like, maybe people won't like this. But then the Goth family's so established, and even though if you open them up in game, they only have like 50,000 simoleons or something, I imagine them as a wealthy family. They have all these artifacts like suits of armor and fancy paintings, which I did take most of the paintings out of this house and didn't put them back, but I left them their suit of armor and like more physical artifacts like that. So they have money. They're, like I keep saying, they're a staple. They are an iconic family, and I wanted them to live up to that. And I didn't feel like the house supported that. They had a weird kitchen. It was really dim. I couldn't see anyone going over there. And so what I did was modern Gothic style. So I got to introduce some whites and golds into the house, which I thought really brightened it up. And also just made it more of a place that what I imagine is a wealthy, established family in a rich neighborhood, like a house they would live in where they could throw big parties. I didn't think that the original dining room that they had could do that. I don't think that you would invite people over into that dining room. And now I feel like it's a dining room where you expect to sit down and a butler is going to wait on you and stuff. That's also something I didn't put in this house, and I probably should have, is a room, an extra room somewhere in the house for a butler if you so choose. Because I definitely imagine the Goth family is one that would have a scheduled maid service, maybe a gardener, and definitely a butler. But you know, the butler needs a bed if you have that expansion. I think that's um, vintage glamour stuff. But anyway, if you want to add space for a butler, you can add space for a butler on your own. And also, I think I just didn't think about that when I was building the house because, like I said, I didn't change any architecture. I did definitely change up the kitchen. The counter situation and the Goth house's kitchen, as it is, when you just open up the house as EA designed it, is wild. I don't know what they were thinking. So I went for this brighter, modern Gothic kitchen. There are definitely way less cabinets in here. I think it makes the room feel more open. They have a more fitting breakfast nook. They had this little area. It was a table before with 2 chairs, and I made it 4 chairs, so at least the Goth family can sit down and have breakfast together. You know, and then I also, where the counter wrapped around into where the doorway to the kitchen is, I put like a little coffee station because I didn't want to make that little area useless, but I didn't think I needed the counters to come all the way around the corner. I really like this kitchen, guys. Like, it's just, Ah, I thought about making it open, like taking down that wall so you just walk straight in from the dining room. But in an old Gothic house like this, I do imagine that the kitchen would be a room with a door that you had to walk through. So I chose not to do that. And you'll notice that in some places, like in the big entry halls and things, all I did was I updated the wallpaper. I wasn't really feeling all the different types of wallpaper and the many, many, many types of molding throughout this house. I don't know, it wasn't cohesive, and it felt more like they were trying to support the dim red and black theme than they were trying to make this a really nice looking house. I don't know, maybe that's just me. This bathroom upstairs is my one of my favorite parts of this house because I was looking at a lot of modern Gothic inspiration, and I saw this bathroom where it was like this beautiful cream bathroom, and they had this clawfoot tub that had curtains all around it, like drapery. And I didn't want to do too much move object stuff with that because then it gets clunky and it would be hard to play with if you wanted to play with the goths. So I decided not to go for the drapery, but I did go for that brighter modern Gothic vibe in that area of the house. I also thought it was weird that once you come up this grand staircase, you have this beautiful piano and that's like center stage in this sitting area, but there's nowhere to sit. And I imagine that's somewhere where either one of the family members would show off their piano skills or they would hire a pianist and gather around with whoever they had invited over and listen to the classical music that they were paying for. And they didn't have that. So I moved the piano back and made that more of a conversation area so you could actually make use of having such a big, gorgeous piano. Next up what did I do next up? Oh, well, let's talk about something. I did use heavy drapes throughout the house. I thought that was really important. There were heavy drapes in the house, obviously, but they kept putting square curtain panels on round topped windows, and I wasn't feeling it because in a lot of cases, the top of the window stuck out above the curtains, and that was just like, I don't know, it looked a little lazy to me. And I also through this realized that we did not have enough round topped curtains. So I ended up using mostly, I think the only place I used square top curtains in one room. I don't remember which room it was, but only one, and they fit, and that was like I was like, woo, I'm glad they fit because I kept using those same drapes and the color palette on those drapes is not great. Like the gray palette that I used in a lot of the house actually looks kind of green, but I was just like, whatever, I'll settle for it because they're round and they're heavy and they look gothic. Um, but I mean, hey, I also maybe the one room I used it in was Cassandra's room. But Cassandra's room, she's a teenager, and I wanted it to feel like a teenager's room. It looked before like an explosion of purple and like still a kid's room, even though I had a double bed and I wasn't feeling it. So I glammed it up. She's got this cool black and white poster of like an ink portrait above her bed. She's got a desk. It's definitely more of a teen space now. And then I didn't feel like the master bedroom really did like I don't know, it didn't support the master bedroom vibe for me. So I switched up where the seating area is and where the bed are. So now the bed gets showcased when you walk into the room with that huge like bay window area. And they still have a seating area and Mortimer Goth still has his desk, But I feel like in a bedroom, usually the bed is the center of attention and it wasn't before. Also, like it's kind of a rule, isn't it, that the bed needs to not face away from the door? Isn't that a thing? And so now the bed faces the door if you're worried about that. I also fixed up their bathroom. It was weird to me that it is still weird to me that there's that big glamorous bathroom on the second floor, but it's not the master bathroom. They have a little bathroom. I don't know. You would think the master bathroom would be the biggest in the house. And then I made Alexander's bedroom I brought it one row back, and so it's just a tiny bit bigger, just a tiny bit more justified because even though he's stuck up there, I felt like he deserved a real bedroom, not just this weird box at the top of the stairs. And there's plenty of roof space up there. There's no reason for his room to not be bigger. Technically, we could bring in that giant bathroom a little bit, open up the staircase, have a 2 wide staircase, and then a whole third floor. But like I said, I wasn't going for a bunch of architectural changes because the Goth family knew what they were doing pretty much when they were building their house. They just didn't really know what they were doing when they decorated it. I mean, hey, we can't have every skill. And so his room, I went for the modern Gothic again, like the rest of the house, but I went for dark blues and blacks instead of I don't remember what it was before. It just looked like they literal rags on the walls and stuff. They didn't do Alexander any justice. And even if he's not the favorite child, I felt like he deserved a little more love. And then the landscaping outside, I just updated, and you'll notice I opened the gallery to grab some fully grown, I think they're actually perfect, Sixum mosquito traps because, I mean, hey, if anyone would grow them outside of your average vampire, it'd be the Goth family. Also, speaking of the Sixum mosquito traps, I didn't go full base game in this house. I would say this house is probably largely base game, but there is the luxury party stuff in this, and then there's also for sure some vampire stuff. But I mean, come on, what more perfect house is there for some of that stuff than the goth house? Like, how could we possibly bring together the vampire stuff and the luxury party stuff, or the vintage glamour stuff, excuse me, or maybe both, I don't know, in one build without it being either like super, super fancy and modern or super vampire scary, right? So, this was mostly an interior renovation, but I really like how it came out. I feel like now this is a house that reflects the Goth family a bit more, and I also feel like it'll make, I don't know, I think they look good in it, and I think they'll look even better in it once I do some townie makeovers on them. So look forward to that coming soon. I don't know, I don't want to promise like next week for sure, but it's coming up. And when I do those renovations, you don't renovate a person. Oh my gosh, when I do those makeovers of the Goth family, it'll still be the same thing. I will keep to their major aesthetics. I just might update them. Just they look fairly modern, except, oh my gosh, Cassandra Goth in that schoolgirl outfit. I can't. And the pigtails. So we're going to do some work. We're going to make them look better. But anyway, the screenshot should be about to roll through. So I'm going to let you go. I hope you enjoyed this renovation. What renovation would you like to see me do next? I'm thinking I'll go house by house and like neighborhood clump by neighborhood clump and town by town. So we've done Park Shore and now Ophelia Villa. And then maybe there's the empty lot, which I'm not going to do. I won't announce when a video that I'm doing that's a normal speed build is a build for my save. You'll get to see when I tour the full save a million years from now when I'm done. So we can do that last house in that same clump, or if you want a more specific build in any other part of the game, let me know and I can renovate that next. But anyway, I'm going to let you go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.